and welcome to On the Move with Nan and Cam and Lindsey. We're joined by Lindsey Hein today, and thanks for joining us, Lindsey. So great to have you. How are you?
I'm so good, and I'm so happy to be here and to be on the other side of an interview.
Yeah, does that feel weird to you?
I love it because I think you have the harder job here.
Debatable. We probably have too much fun on a podcast for a host. We very unserious
Not
crew
that
over
hard.
here. Yeah.
No, I think it's like as a podcast host myself, I'm constantly like doing this dance of like making sure I don't talk too much, but talk
Right.
enough so that I'm giving a little bit of my insight. So it's
Yes.
fun to be the one that gets to answer the questions sometimes.
Oh yeah. Or I'm also like you said, I'm always cognizant of like, is it sounding too interviewy when you want it to sound like a conversation because
Right.
I am or I'm not talking enough?
Totally.
That's not ever really a problem for me, though.
Yeah, we're just chit-chatting it away most of the time.
So, just to start, tell us a little bit about yourself for people that might not know. And also, I mean, so do you have one podcast now or two currently?
Okay, so right now I'll have another with Lindsey Hein, which
Okay.
is my podcast for runners. I took a hiatus, maybe forever break from my podcast for parents, which was called Why Is Everyone Yelling? I kind of just decided it would be better to have everything all in one place. And so after 3 years of trying that one out, we're going to move towards like, if I want to have parenting focused interviews on, I'll have another, I'll somehow fit them in.
Yeah.
But that is definitely it's predominantly a running based podcast. Like I just did a series over there with parents and their athlete kids. So I was able to kind of incorporate that side of it a little bit. But I'm also the co-host of the Relay podcast, which is a really fun show where I talk with other people in the running influencer podcasting type space. And we kind of just do deep dives on the happenings in the running world.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. So how did you get kind of started running, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your personal journey to getting where you are today?
Yeah, so I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I grew up in Indiana and lived in Indianapolis for like 18 years after college. And then I have 4 boys. I'm the mom of 4 boys, and they are ages like 6 to 12. So we're in a really fun season. Yeah, lots of soccer games and things like that. I've been married to my husband, Glenn, for 16 years.
Nice.
And I've run 17 marathons. So
Amazing.
I started running marathons, when I was 25, and have really front loaded them there, and then had lots of babies, and have I'm still running them, but not as frequently as I used to.
Right.
And I'm also a running coach. I'm the charity coach, the team coach for Every Mother Counts, which is really special to me. We've got a huge group running the New York City Marathon. We just had a big group that just ran the Chicago Marathon. I do like one-on-one virtual coaching with athletes as well. But I'd say my main job is the podcast and like the race announcing type stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. And so you came last year to Richmond for the first time, and that was really great. And you hosted a panel for us there, and are doing something similar this year at the expo, and we can't wait for that. So that was kind of how we got introduced to you. We just saw you on Instagram and started following you and started listening to the podcast and became a fan. And we were like, she's great at what she does. And you're a wonderful host. So we're very excited to get to work with you again.
Yeah. And I did see that you got to do a couple more races after that. I was like, yay, good. Is that like something you've been liking like since then?
Yeah. I mean, you guys really took a chance on me. Thank you for saying you listened to the podcast. But I mean, I pitched myself to you all, and you knew that I was new to race announcing and things like that. But I think it really meant a lot to me that you believed in what I knew I could do. And so, I've been doing it a lot now. I've tried to book around 4 to 5 races like a season.
Nice.
I find that like 5 is probably the max as far as like family work-life balance.
Yeah, right.
And like traveling and being away from my kids on the weekends and stuff like that. But I had a blast in Richmond, and it was a really great experience on my end. So I hope it was a great experience on your end working with me as well.
It definitely was. Obviously, we're pumped to have you back.
Yeah. So tell us, you said podcasting is like your main thing. Tell us like about your podcasting journey and how you even got into it.
Yeah. So about, I guess it was 8 years ago, 8.5 now. It's crazy. I just started like listening to podcasts like everybody else. Like I was listening to Serial, and then there was this other podcast called The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. And I just loved her show. Like I love the style of like we were talking about earlier, the casual conversations. And I was like, I could do that. I love conversations. I love getting to know
Right.
people. And I was like, I want to talk about running and motherhood and all the different things that I have going on in my life with other people. And I was pregnant with my third baby at that point. So it's been crazy because just like the changes in my family life and just like
Yeah.
how we've grown while still like doing the podcast. But I just started and I thought, oh, maybe I could pitch some professional runners, you know. I initially thought I'll just have friends and people that I know who are runners in the local community on the show. But the story goes, I pitched Sarah Hall like in the early days, and she said yes. And so I had her on, and then I just started pitching other pros. So then it kind of turned into it's mostly I interview professional runners,
Mm-hmm.
but I still do try to incorporate everyday runners here and there, and then I'll do series like I'm doing a coaching series right now where I'm interviewing coaches. So, yeah, it's been a really, I will say, like, I feel really fortunate that I've been able to turn it into a career. I always tell people, like, don't start a podcast thinking, like, I'm starting a podcast to make money and this can be like a full time job for me.
Right.
But I did start my podcast hoping I could turn it into a job.
I think that's a good point, and I think it's really hard. I mean, I think you see so many people these days that because it seems like so many people do it, but it's
Right.
also like it's really hard to do those things really successfully.
Yeah. And I think that just like the industry has changed a lot and the saturation is a lot more than it was 8 years ago when I started. So I think it's harder to get it off the ground now
Yeah.
if you're not like a well-known name or have fame behind your name in some way. I think it's easier in a sense because there's more tools now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more noise now. So that's
Yeah.
why I do think it can be a little bit more challenging now to start.
Right.
Yeah. I think even like I know I probably underestimated the like scheduling of having
Yeah.
to find somebody to talk to every week and things like
Yeah.
that in your mind you're like this will be easy, and sometimes it is. Sometimes you have a stretch of time where it's like you feel like you've got great ideas and you have guests lined up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then there's, as Cameron knows since she's got to deal with the reparations of my my planning abilities, there's other weeks where it's Monday and we're like who is going to be the guest this week?
And we have
we're
24
emailing
hours to
like
find
we're emailing like 8 people, being like, "Help us!" Or
Oh
we're
man,
like,
I've been
it just
there.
has to be the two of us talking because
Yeah.
it's got to be a catch-up week.
Totally.
So it's really, who's been one of your favorite guests? Like, what is one of your most memorable podcasts or somebody that you like thought you couldn't get?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I mean, I thought it was really cool. Somewhat recently, I was able to have Michael Johnson on the podcast, which was interesting because I think most of my like everyday friends and family, they don't pay attention to my podcast. Like, this is like a running podcast. So
Yeah, neither us either. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was the biggest fan at first, and now she's like, "Do I have to listen this time?" And I'm like, "Do what you want."
Yeah, I don't think my husband's ever listened to an episode.
Listen, my mom for sure has never listened
Yeah.
in 8 years. My husband doesn't listen either. He has here and there in the past, or if I have a guest on where I'm like, you would really like that person, I will be like, you should listen, but he actually still doesn't. And I'm not offended in the least.
No, you can't be. Yeah.
No. But I had so many people after I had Michael Johnson on be like, oh my gosh, I saw you had Michael Johnson on your podcast, because his fame goes so far beyond like just the running world. But yeah, he was a great one. I always love being able to interview athletes like Courtney Dauwalter, just like so fun and also amazing at what they do, and then just like super giving of their time to come on these interviews. Sonia Richards-Ross was one that was really exciting for me to book. Scott Jurek, back in the day, I had this like story of, I heard he was coming to Indianapolis and I didn't really have a way to figure out how to get in touch with him to do a live show, but I somehow figured that out, and I did a live show with him in front of like 300 people. That was probably one of the cooler experiences I've ever done, and he's such a nice guy.
I think too, like you're saying, I like when you mentioned the first one with Sarah Hall, it's like you don't know what you can get or the power of it until you ask, like by asking. Like I think so many times people get like, oh, that's never going to happen, or like that's not possible, and like you got to just be willing to be the squeaky wheel and like ask everybody all the time.
Yeah. And I oftentimes, especially now that the market has gotten so saturated and everybody's doing interviews, when there's like a big performance, I'm always like, do I want to be one more person in their inbox, like bugging them about an interview? Right. And sometimes I won't, but more often than not, I'm like, yeah, just go ahead and do it. They can say no if they want.
Yeah, or like they're just as excited about it too. Like I'm like, you know, they're just as excited about their big accomplishment. This is a time for them to be able to shine and reflect on all the work they've put in. Yeah. But yeah, it is not quite as glamorous sometimes as people think it is, podcasting life. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, why'd they say yes to me? I can't believe I got this interview.
Because you're great. Yeah. So we mentioned that last year was your first year in Richmond. So you had not been to Richmond before. And this is the time of year as we're approaching race day. We're really trying to, you know, hammer home America's friendliest marathon and all of that. So I think, you know, people hear us talk about it and they know that we've been there a bajillion times, that we obviously love it. From your first year perspective, what was that race day atmosphere like?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was the best. And it really is the friendliest marathon. Who is the man that drives me on the golf cart?
Michael George.
Michael George. Does he make this race or what?
He does. Yeah.
He's awesome guy.
We love him.
So
He's
much
been on the podcast as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We love Michael George.
I think that's one of the things I love the most is like when you feel like you can like plug right into a community and like they welcome you and you feel like you're on the team and you know what I mean?
Right.
Because sometimes you can go to a situation, you feel like a little bit of an outsider and you don't know how you're going to quite fit in. And I felt so welcomed there. And yeah, I mean, the finish line at Richmond, y'all want to finish a marathon downhill, you go to Richmond.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it was so much fun. And and then I was like, with the race announcing, we were up in the box and I was like, can we go down there? And so we just got down on the finish line and started jumping around with everybody. And it was so fun. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And then also, like, go to Stella's Grocery if you're going to Richmond.
Love that subtle plug.
Yeah, right?
We're both big fans. Yeah, you got multiple locations. There's probably one where you're staying.
All day, every day. I'm like, I don't even need to think about what I'm going to eat because that's where I'm going.
And grab and go. You can take dinner back to your hotel room, early bedtime.
Yes, exactly.
You can bring it out with you on race day if you need some snacks.
Yeah.
So good.
No, they've really got it all. I loved when you took the mic last year and went down in the street because that was something I had not seen at a race and thought it was like so unique and fun and definitely is like true to your personality and vibe. And so I liked how you can just make things your own. But it was just cool because I've been there so many times and I was like, I've never seen somebody just want to take the mic and go stand in the finish chute, but way to make it way more personal.
Maybe it's an attention thing. Maybe I just want too much attention on myself.
I took that note because we love attention too. So
yeah, that too. But I feel like it's more personal when you're like down there with them and you're like actually congratulating them to their face because they just ran out like a full marathon. So
yeah,
it's a big deal.
So, yeah.
Especially towards the end too, because it's like the finishers come in a little bit more like sparsely, and so you can really give them really big attention. And I heard that Jess is going to be at the finish line as well, cheering. Jess, Pace of Me.
Yes, because she'll be there with another mother runner.
Yeah,
because she is part of the Better Together program.
Yes,
and that they're doing there.
Yeah,
so that'll be great. Yeah, another mother runner has just to fill the crew in. Another mother runner has a Better Together program where they have participants from all over that are coming together with another mother runner that have trained together virtually, kind of through this whole experience. So they kind of know each other, but they've never met up. And now they're using Richmond and running Richmond together as a meetup, which is just like so fun.
That for them.
Yeah, no, it's great. And we're really excited to have them. And Jess came with you as your friend, came with you last year. So it was like really fun to think we get to see another familiar face.
Yeah, and she has a ton of athletes that she coaches that run Richmond every year too. So if you live in the Raleigh area, like it's such an easy race to go run because it's close enough that you can just go down for one night.
I'm a big fan of a 2 hour, like a quick little 2 hour distance is easy.
They must have heard us talking about them. They just tagged us in something on Instagram.
They did?
Yeah.
They knew we were recording.
That's why I was like, is that who I think it is? Yep, they just tagged us in something. That's crazy.
I love that.
Yeah. So what are you most looking forward to this year when it comes to like coming back to Richmond? Because obviously you don't come here often, but it is a nice little place once you're here visiting. So like, what are you looking forward to besides Stella's, obviously?
Yeah, besides Stella's. I will say my family and I went to Washington, D.C. After the race. And I was like, well, just so you know, Richmond is the halfway point kind of. And so we're going to have to stop and go to Stella's.
Yeah, 100%.
So I got Stella's and my husband got Stella's. My kids got McDonald's. I was like, you guys aren't going to appreciate this.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a Big Mac.
Yeah, and I was like, you won't appreciate this good food as much as I will.
No.
I am looking forward to the community and the environment, the whole race experience, and also like the live podcast that we're doing with all the different run clubs. That's going to be super fun and different. Like our talk we did last year on stage was really awesome too, but this one will be a unique experience. So I'm excited to get to know all those people as well.
I know you don't know the people really that you're going to be interviewing, but man, you got a good set.
It's a fun crew. Yeah, we've had them all now individually on. I told you when I asked you to be on the podcast, but we've had them now on. We had Sue on last week, and then before that we had Anthony, and then just like way before that, before we knew they were going to be on the panel, we had Josh and Clay, and everybody just has such a fun energy.
Yeah, all four of them are just like high energy, ready to talk about literally anything. Just funny, so it's going to be good.
All very passionate about Richmond and also like love running. And I think also have great stories that kind of cater to any type of runner that is running Richmond. You know, we've got everybody from really fast to people that just want to finish to people that are, you know, looking for a certain time. So I think it'll be a good way for people to see themselves reflected on stage for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And Anthony, I do know. I interviewed him at a Shamrock Marathon last spring. So yeah, I already have some rapport with him. I know it's going to be an awesome group.
I was just looking up because I was putting together some marathon story pitches for media. And so I was looking up, one of the things I always do is like look and see who has the largest group that's registered, because you can register as a team or a group. And I knew that We Off the Couch had a lot. I had no idea.
They're not even, he texted me the other day. They haven't even, he was like, I'm still trying to get people. They have close to like 200 people.
I mean, they have like 100
Oh my gosh.
They have like 100 more than anybody else. I think the next one actually is Fleet Feet Raleigh.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That is so cool. Are they local to Richmond?
We Off the Couch?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I knew they were Virginia, but I couldn't remember if it was actually Richmond.
Yeah, so they do a lot of our events. This year was the first year I think that they did their own marathon training team and half marathon training team separate from our sports backers training teams. But yeah, they have a lot of people on that. Cameron went out there and was giving them ran like a junk food stop and got to hang out with them. But she said it was like awesome and they had so many people. So yeah, I definitely think it's been a big year for Richmond run clubs. We've seen a ton pop up and the popularity has just really exploded. People are getting, 200 runners in the morning sometimes. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we've always had them, but it's definitely felt like it's increased. So I think it was a great time to kind of bring the panel a little bit more locally minded for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited.
I was looking to see just now, last year they had 86 people.
Oh my gosh.
And so this year they have almost 200.
Wow.
Right. And so like they're growing, but I think they're like, I don't know. They have such a huge community in themselves that on race day, everybody knows who they are. Like when they pass them, because they're like pumping everybody up. But growing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. It's been really cool to see the different run clubs like explode all over different major cities across the U.S. Like there's a moment happening and a movement happening. It's for the better. Just like health and wellness as a country in general.
Yeah, I was on a call with somebody, District Running Collective from DC a couple weeks ago. And I was telling her about how it was like booming here, like all these different run clubs kept popping up. And she was like, oh, it's the same way in DC. Mm-hmm. She's like, everywhere I turn, there's a new run club. And I was like, that's so crazy. Like, I wonder if it's like that everywhere. Like if running is just like a new way for people to get connected that's free, that people are like, okay, like let's just go out and run.
Yeah.
And so it's not just here. It's
No.
like a lot of places.
It's great.
Yeah.
We need it. It's fun to have so many fun communities. So you mentioned a little bit about loving the finish line. Yes. And loving to see those people that might not be the fastest runners that are finishing and doing something that they really didn't think that they could do. I think you're still planning on doing this, but you talked about that you wanted to do something fun for some of those back of the pack runners. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I can't take credit for this idea. I was race announcing at Monumental last year, and towards the end of the race, this group of like 4 women came up and they had a little goodie bag, and they were like, "We brought this for your last finisher." I was like, "You just brought it for the last finisher?" And they're like, "Yeah, we've been there before, and we just like decided when we go to a race, we're always going to bring this bag if we can get back out there." And so I was like, "Oh my gosh, no brainer. I have to start doing this at the finish lines that I'm announcing at." So this is the first year I'm going to actually do it. And I reached out to some different like partners and friends of the podcast. And so, we have these little goodie bags. I'm putting them in these little shoe bags from a company. And this is a small woman-owned business called Pen and Paces. And they're these little shoe bags that have donuts on them. And so then I put all the goodies inside the shoe bag, but then the athlete can then use those bags to put their shoes in when they travel. But we've got that. We've got little race tattoos from Athlete Bouquets. And they say, "Run the mile you're in." We have a really cool necklace from Erica Sarah Designs.
Nice.
And it says, "I can, I will" on it.
That's
and
cute.
It's backwards, so when you look in the mirror, like you're reading it to yourself. Isn't that so good?
I could see you wearing that.
No,
Cameron's going to sign up. Be the last one.
Yeah.
I've been wearing it. And then we've got products from Previnex. We've got their Joint Health Plus and their Nourify Plus, which is their protein supplement that I use. And then Night Bites from Lagoon, which is they have like little chocolate bites with magnesium and L-theanine in them to help you like relax in the evening.
Nice. I need to get those.
Yeah.
I'm just taking the regular magnesium.
Yeah, I'm just taking pills.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, yeah, you got to do the chocolate. And this chocolate does not have caffeine in it.
Yeah. This is my medicine.
Yeah. This is my medicine. It doesn't have caffeine in it. Okay. So it's because it's made with like a different kind of cocoa powder or whatever.
Okay.
What is it called? I can't remember. But anyway, they're very tasty. And then lastly, I think we might have some additions, but actually Jess Hoffheimer, Pace of Me is her Instagram handle. She also has a little business called We Run on Art. And so she's going to include a couple things in the bags as well. So
nice. That's so great. Yeah.
It's the coolest part about it is most of it, they're all like relatively small businesses.
Yeah.
And Lagoon and Previnex are founded by a man, but the other ones are all founded by women. So I love that.
Yeah.
And just all really great companies to support. And then they've, always supported me, and they love the idea of giving these to the last finishers of the race.
That's awesome. No, I think it's such a cute idea. And it's something that we've been really thinking about. And we like to make a big deal of some of those runners on staff, because also naturally something that kind of happens is it's towards the end of the day where we're kind of like, people who have been out on the course have come back, and their top wish is, I want to go down to that finish line and get to enjoy some of that atmosphere before it's over. And I think it's really special because also in Richmond, we have our Sports Backers marathon training team and half marathon training team coaches. And they, at that point in time, really push for these last runners, and they're up there, they're running them down in a huge pack. Everybody's cheering.
Oh, it's so good.
I think you think it's supportive for everyone, but when you're there for those last few, you're also like, wow, this is just like such a great, positive, uplifting feeling where, it's not that the crowds have decreased or anything like that. It's still the same level of excitement.
Yeah, it was really cool last year to see your pace crews like coming in with some of those last finishers and the energy that they were bringing, and the fact that they've been out there for, 6 hours with these people cheering them on.
Yeah. They're wild. They have that type of energy every Saturday, every Sunday, all of the time.
We've talked about that, about like, how many miles are you guys actually doing on race day? And they're like almost close to 2 marathons, just running back and forth.
Forth.
Yeah, doing so much stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness. That's so crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot. Well, do you go anywhere? Do you have anywhere on the agenda before Richmond, or are you set now, I'm guessing?
I'm actually, so I just was in Chicago for the marathon.
Okay. Nice.
Which was really awesome.
Yeah.
I mostly do stuff at the expo there, so that's fun. I'm actually doing something here in Raleigh, November 3rd for the City of Oaks Marathon.
Oh, cool.
And so, yeah, I'll be doing some they're actually putting me on the course like towards the end of the race, and then I'll move to the finish line and do the announcing for the second half of the race.
Okay.
So that'll be fun to be on course for that. And I'm trying to convince my husband to run the 5K with my boys because they do 5K, 10K, half, and marathon.
Okay. That's really fun. I was just thinking as an over talker myself, and you like to talk, what are you doing? I mean, if I'm excited too, like there's no like thing where if I was going to announce for a weekend and you're normally announcing and then you're also doing something like a panel. What do you do to make sure that you can keep your voice going?
I drink a lot of water. I mean, I don't know.
I
have
drink up.
Yeah. Like I have not had an issue losing my voice yet.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's because I drink so much water during the process, which I do have to take breaks to pee. But I heard someone say like, oh, this guy at this race, he never even drinks water because he doesn't want to leave the finish line to have to pee. And I'm like, well, first of all, I would feel sick because I would be like so dehydrated.
Yeah, you have a migraine.
I'd have a headache. I do think that's why though. I think it's because I actively choose to like stay super hydrated throughout.
Good tip to know. I mean, I feel like I'm losing my voice by the end of marathon weekend from excessive talking at Expo.
Or like
everywhere.
Just not even feeling well because I've been talking all day long. So I'm like, all right, that's it.
You got to increase that water.
Yeah.
Bump it up.
Yeah.
Maybe I just like talk so much in my everyday life that my vocal cords are used to it.
When we were talking about it, that's why my husband doesn't need or want to listen to this podcast. He's like, I need a break at some point, lady. I'm hearing it in my dreams. Yeah.
I have a high word quota every day. Just lots of talking.
It's a good thing. This is a positive
You're in
podcast.
The right
You're with the right
profession.
crew.
Yep.
Right profession for sure. Well, we're so excited and cannot wait to have you here. So yeah, the live panel will be at 12:30 on Friday, and I believe we were calling it. This is a real test.
What running's done for me?
What running's done for me?
Yeah.
What running's done for me?
Yeah,
I remember that. We created that together. We did that.
Yeah, we all did it. But it'll be great. It was really fun last year. So make sure you're at the expo, at the Health and Fitness Expo at the Raceway then, and you'll just have a great time. So now we have the hardest part of the podcast for you, which is some rapid fire this or that questions.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I can do well.
You're going to do great.
Yeah. Okay. First question, because I did a little scrolling on your page, obviously.
Ooh.
Do you prefer weight training or running?
Well, sadly, I've been injured, so I've been doing a lot more weight training. And I think at this point in my life, if I had to choose one, I would do the weight training.
Right.
Just because if I only ran, I'd be injured 24/7.
Yeah.
Right.
It happens.
And I feel like that's like the normal life of somebody who does like to do both. It's always in like waves. So it's like this phase of my life, you can't pay me to run. Like I'm not running anymore. I haven't run in like forever because I'm like, I've been just doing weights. But in the spring when I was doing 10K training team, I was like, I'm not going in the gym. What the heck? So yeah, I definitely feel like it depends on like what phase you're in of like the year or of like your life where you're like definitely one over the other.
Yeah, I just interviewed a strength training coach on my podcast. I think it's coming out tomorrow actually. And he was saying like the best time to strength train is like after a marathon, like you've recovered a little bit and then like hit the weights heavy. And then once you start, if you get into another marathon training cycle, like don't give up the weights, but you can taper back a little bit and then focus more on the running. But I'm like, that's such a smart way to do it because that'll like really build up your body and your muscles and your strength. And so you're entering your running training cycle like stronger than ever, right? Like muscle wise. But then, I mean, if you're going to try to run fast or, set a PR or whatever, you do have to then prioritize the running and take maybe the strength train down to like twice a week and not be quite so intense about it.
I definitely feel like it's you do one or the other until you're burned out on it. And you're like, Yeah, I gotta switch.
Yeah, and then you're like,
yeah,
all right, time to do something. Yeah.
I love a spin class too, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We our coworker Dion that sits across from us downstairs loves a spin class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took one time and I told him I just can't.
So did you take the one where you're like, because I do the amp sculpt, and so there's like some like, dance moves.
I like that.
I want to try one of those, but I don't even know. I mean, I might be at where Ashley works.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. No, it was the regular.
Yeah.
It was one of the Y.
Straight cycle.
Yeah. That's hard to focus.
The class was good. The uncomfortability, I was like, I can't do this again.
It's so hard.
You got to work up that bun strength.
Yeah. It's so hard. Yeah. But yeah, the ones where you can they have dance moves and choreography, it so makes the time pass. And then also the one I do, they do 2 weight segments that are 5 minutes each, but it really breaks up the monotony of just spinning.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
Then you feel like you're getting your weight training in with the cycle.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I mean, I use the 2.5 pound weights in that, but
you're multitasking, okay?
It's a lot of repetition there.
5 pounds total. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is totally unrelated to physical activity because you need to refuel, but it's fall. There's a lot of different candies floating around. Cameron thinks both of these are gross. I am only not into one of them, but do you prefer, if you have to pick, candy corn or candy apple?
Candy apple.
Okay.
Right.
Are you a candy corn hater?
No. I mean, I'm just I
hadn't had it in a while. And then I just went to Allison's house, our merchandise manager, and she had a bag of the pumpkins. And we were filming some reels together, and I started eating these pumpkins, and I ate one right before we were supposed to start. And she was like, that's going to take you at least 5 minutes to chew that.
Right.
She was like, you're going to have to pause and wait. Yeah. And she was right. I was like, no, no.
I know. Well, and the older I get, candy like that, I'm just like, wow, I can really feel that sugar go straight to my head.
Or your teeth. Sometimes I'm I feel like these are gonna fall out.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I do like the caramel apple suckers. You guys ever had those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love those.
I like those.
Those are great. Okay. Last one.
Oh, last one. I'm not sure. Okay. I would just ask. Finish line or start line?
Oh, finish line.
Okay.
As a runner or an announcer?
An announcer. I was gonna say, have you been at a start line?
Yeah. I think, well, the start line, you guys had multiple start lines.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I was at the marathon start line.
I was not there.
Okay.
Yeah. I was at the half.
Because there was another announcer at the half marathon start line.
Okay.
Yeah. For sure the finish line, though, as a runner or an announcer. Because, that's where we all want to be, right?
Yeah, as a runner, it's done. Then you're finished. You can go to that post-race party.
Yeah, exactly. So and it's just as an announcer, it is the best thing to witness, seeing someone who's just completely overjoyed that they just did what they did, and just being able to experience those moments with people is really, really rewarding.
It's true.
Yeah. I do think it's very cheesy, but when we get to watch that marathon finish line, you are like, wow, I feel great about what we get to do in the community and what we get to see. And you feel so inspired, and it's just nothing like it, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, not to be corny, but everybody has a different story that got them to the finish line.
Yeah.
And some might be okay, I'm running my 20th marathon, blah, blah, blah. But some might have just overcome something really hard, or, the first postpartum marathon. You just never know what they went through to get to where they are. So, and sometimes you can totally read it on their faces that this was a really big deal.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Really random question before we wrap up that I just thought of. What is your well, I guess I have two, but what is your go-to Stella's market order?
Oh, well, whatever. There was a little cup thing that had farro.
Yeah, shaker cup.
Shaker cup with farro, and I think sun-dried tomato
and chicken.
And little, I did the vegetarian one. Okay. It had little mozzarella balls in it.
Yep. Yeah.
I kind of overdid it though. I had it way too many times.
Yeah.
So I might be burnt out on that. I might have to start somewhere else this year.
Okay. They have a lot of great salads too. So the salad game is
strong.
The
Caesar salad. The Caesar salad is really good.
Okay. Okay,
It has,
that's good to know.
seeds, sometimes
Pumpkin seeds.
It has pumpkin seeds in it, and it's really good.
The shakers though, I'm like, oh, I'm eating like a real meal. Like,
oh, it's like heavy. It looks small, and then you're like, this is a lot of food.
I'm like, I probably should have just ate half of that right in this moment and saved the other half for later.
But you think about that because it's a little cup.
It's a little. You don't want to stop either. It's so good.
No, you don't. It's too good.
And they have lots of yummy desserts too.
Yeah, they definitely do. A weird item that I also was like, this is not something I normally would pick. And then my girlfriends turned me onto it, and it's delicious. Their lima bean salad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like just lemony, dill, feta.
Oh, sounds fresh.
And it's so good. Yeah, it's cold. It's in the like little cold fridge area, probably right where you get the shakers.
I mean, that's 100% dinner for me Friday night.
Yeah, love it. You're set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell people where they can interact with you and find all of your stuff.
So you can find me on Instagram, Lindsey Hein 626. And yeah, it is a lot more weight training over there than running right now, but I'm going to get back over there.
They're about to be done running, so they're going to they're going to want to switch up their routine.
Strength training advice. And then my podcast is I'll Have Another with Lindsey Hein, and that I have weekly, it's actually twice a week right now, episodes on that. And the Relay podcast that I'm a co-host on, that's super fun. And you can find my website, lindseyhein.com.
And then you can see her at the Health and Fitness Expo on Friday, November 15th at 12:30, and look for her at the start and finish lines as well.
Yeah. And if you message me on Instagram, I'll give you a special shout out.
Oh, nice. Love that. You might be busy now.
Right. I know. I will write them all down. I don't think I will be that busy, but I will write them down. You just let me know. Or if you have someone you know that's running that has like a birthday or, some big thing, let me know and I'll put it in my back pocket.
That's cute.
Love that. That's amazing. Well, Lindsey, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Also, I was going to plug for me and Cameron, little fun fact. Next week is our 1-year anniversary of podcasting together.
Oh, wow.
Podcasting together. Yeah, nice. So we got everybody, all you on the Move fans, tune in to see what we're going to have. It is coincidentally also Halloween.
Yeah.
So there might be some
big day.
Yeah, fall themed fun going on.
Ooh, that's next Friday, huh?
Yeah, or it's Thursday.
Gosh. It's
Thursday, yeah.
Oh, I got to get some Halloween costumes, guys. That's
Yeah, I mean, you got the 4 kids. This is a busy time.
I'm like, can we go back to homemade Halloween costumes? Because not that I want to make them, I just don't want to spend $1 million on Halloween costumes.
Those costumes are expensive.
It's crazy.
Every time I look at them, I'm like,
I know. And what is it? Halloween, that you go to the Halloween, that big store, warehouse
Spirit
store?
Of Halloween.
Spirit of Halloween. And it's just so overwhelming.
And everything's bloody.
But then why did I just say I want to go back to, I don't want to go back to homemade where I make them. I just want my kids to make them.
Yeah.
You just throw a sheet over them and call them ghosts.
Yeah.
You're a ghost. You're a box, whatever. Like,
let's roll a dress up thing we already have. Like, you're a firefighter. You're this. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm also all about like, let's all share here. Like, let's all neighbors, like everybody just throw your costumes into a pile in the middle of the street and kids can just pick which ones they want.
That's a great idea.
We all have old costumes.
I don't remember who was what last year at all.
No, my favorite is when I've had friends that let their kid pick out the costume like too early and then like they change
then they wear
it. They don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Totally. For sure. Been there.
Well, we'll have to check on Instagram, see what the boys are.
See what we decide
good luck with that because that is rough. I can't wait to see you soon.
Yay! I can't wait to be in Richmond.
Thanks, Lindsey. Bye.
Thanks.